I saw this news pop up, and then, you probably already know that Macy's, there's Gap, there's a whole bunch of stuff on Michigan Avenue that's just gone. And I get in conversations with people, and a lot of times they're like, well, retail was dying anyways. And I'm like, yes and no. At one point, Zara was opening a new store every day, I think, before COVID. Retail wasn't dead. It was just shifting. No one wanted to go to J.C. Penney's and Sears anymore, for example, or Kmart. Not every business is meant to stick around forever. Trends come and go, styles change. People still like to go shop. And when I get into conversations with people right now, they greatly underestimate the effects of crime when it comes to shopping. And I asked 4 or 5 people, like in Michigan. Don't forget how many people from Michigan and Indiana all go up to Chicago. It's go experience a big city and go shopping. That's what the Mag Mile is. The 4 or 5 people I talked to with families, that's when you plan on going to Chicago anytime soon, and they all said no. With crime being one of those top priorities, COVID too, but they're all well aware of the crime that's going on. Now, the single people I know, they don't seem to care as much. They'll go travel and they're not concerned that much about it. People with kids, they worry about that stuff. When you look at how many people from Michigan just go to Chicago for the weekend to go shop on the Mag Mile and get some Chicago style deep dish, it's tremendous. Like I think they said the Mag Mile gets, I don't know how many tens of millions of visitors a year. And for the city, probably generates 100 million or more in tax revenue. And it's one of those things that if you don't have the people coming from out of state that come visit, that whole part of the city is going to deteriorate. And then the city's going to miss out on the tax revenue. But I lived in Streeterville part time, and then I moved up to River North part time before COVID. I know the city very well, and I know quite a few people in the city. But I did know someone in particular that as the crime started to go up, they lived in Streeterville. And like, I don't really feel safe going for a jog by myself anymore. They actually sold their apartment and moved out to the suburbs. So you can't think for a minute that tourists, especially those with families, aren't thinking about the issues that come with shopping on the Mag Mile and crime. Um, they got to get a grip on that if you want people to come back. If you look at, again, 20 million plus visitors to the Mag Mile, if you look at how it affects hospitality, obviously the hotels in that bucket, food and beverage, people, I lived in Streeterville. How many people you saw walk down Ohio Street every day going to Navy Pier? If you can't get the people to come from out of state, tourism's going to kill that city. And you think about even the conventions, right? You're probably not going to see the conventions come back full tilt for a while. Maybe not even, they might not even get back to where they ever were with the way COVID is. I just don't understand why people don't want to look at the crime as a potential issue. And now it's not just crime in Chicago, it's everywhere. You see these smash and grabs going on. Now, granted, they're going in these places and they're robbing the stores, and it doesn't seem like they're hurting the people shopping. But do you want to go with your family on a nice trip and then worry about being in the store when 80 people bum rush it and steal a bunch of stuff? From Best Buy to Louis Vuitton, you're seeing this stuff happen all over the country right now, and that's going to keep people from going into stores. Going to push people more on. They're going to go back online and order more stuff, which means retail's going to end up shutting down, and we're going to lose those local jobs. Going to hurt tax bases. Now, taxes. Think about everything that goes towards. If they're not paying the taxes, you're either going to go in the deficit or everyone else is going to end up paying more taxes. Property taxes, sales taxes. The city's going to take that burden on if you lose that tourism base. So many things going on here. They said the Disney store was closing. Now, if you've ever been to that Disney store, maybe they weren't making money, but damn were they busy. That place was hopping nonstop. It was a marquee store. And we know that they're going to open up more of these Disney shops inside of Target. But does Disney really want to give up their marquee spot on Mag Mile that gets 22 million impressions a year? This is from a branding standpoint. If that store could break even, for example, and you could get the 22 million impressions of that Disney store, the photos that end up on social media, that's why a lot of these people end up going on Fifth Avenue, in New York, or other marquee places in New York, and the Mag Mile. It's the brand exposure. It's a commercial. There's value in the PR. So if even they're breaking even on a store, the amount of exposure they get from a marketing and branding standpoint is tremendous. I don't think Disney wants to shut down that store unless they're like, screw this, I don't want to deal with it anymore. Now they're out. And I think Target was talking about opening up somewhere in the Mag Mile, and now I think they said they're not going to show up. Do people realize what it's going to be like if all retail just kind of evaporates? We're going to lose so many jobs, and we're going to lose that tax base, and then it's going to get concentrated. I don't want, the Mag Mile was like tourist hell, but there was something special about it. It's like a amazing shopping place. They light it up at Christmas time. There's a vibe. Not my favorite place in Chicago to hang out, but it was its own thing. And you understand why it was a big draw for the whole Midwest to go spend a weekend there and go shop and go visit the local restaurants, and then you go back home on Sunday. You're just not going to get that if the crime stays the way it is. It's something I think people don't want to talk about, but it's an issue right now. And we're really good about that in this country. We'll just sit around and not talk about things. And then we're going to watch, the Mag Mile we're already seeing it go that route. And then we're going to sit around and say, well, what happened and why? And I'll tell you what, posting the random cop here and there along the Mag Mile doesn't feel anybody safe. Make anybody feel safe. I'm not in that great a shape, and I could probably outrun some of those cops. So, and no offense, it's just one of those things. I remember walking through New York, and I think I saw like some like SWAT police people with like rifles and stuff, and it's like they give you a whole other vibe. But it's like, man, these dudes take this stuff serious out here. There's so many people out there, and they're talking about 80 people showing up to a store, and it's like, what's one or two cops gonna do? If you got a family, you're like, I'm staying home. I'm gonna go up north. I'm gonna go do something else. I'm not gonna take the kids to Chicago. And I just think that's where we're at right now. And I think if the crime continues, this is gonna get worse. And at some point, I was talking to some people, that are in real estate out there, and like, some of these places are leaving, and they're stuck in long-term leases, and they're still getting the hell out of there. It might have only been kind of worth it before the crime, and now it's like with COVID and the crime and everything, it's a tipping point. The problem is I don't want to do all my shopping online. Like, I still like going to stores. I hate getting a bunch of stuff in the mail and having to send it back. It's nice to just go shop. But, I'm looking at this Columbia sign right here, and it makes me think. The funny part about Michigan Avenue was, just to give you an idea of why people travel, often people from the Midwest will travel to Chicago to go shop at the same stores that they have right in their backyard. We have Macy's here. We have, Columbia stuff here. We got Nordstrom. But we'll go... hell, I think Michigan's got an Hermes now. Like, I go to Chicago if you want a Birkin bag, right? It's just one of those things that you go to Chicago for the experience. You go there because of the Mag Mile. You go there for the people. You go there for the food. It's a getaway. A lot of times we just end up buying. We can buy that stuff online. We can buy that stuff at the same store right here, but we don't want to. We want to go to Chicago, and it's that experience, and that experience is now it's going away, which is going to make people not want to travel there. And that's going to hurt the city as a whole, just between the jobs. It's a domino effect when you think about it. The amount of money you make on the sales, so the tax revenue. Let's not forget that when you employ people in the city, they pay taxes too. So now they're not paying taxes. And that that buildings, not everywhere you go, it's less tax, it's less money, it's less jobs. How are you going to have a thriving city when you're going to be short? Isn't Chicago already short on tax revenue? Maybe I'm wrong, but can you afford any more at this point? But if we don't get crime fixed and try to keep the current tenants and get some new tenants in and get travel back, man, this city's going to not. Think about where it was in 2019. River North was starting to just pop. Everywhere you went, there was people. Hate it or love it, a lot of new buildings going up. A lot of those new apartment buildings. A lot of people moving to the city. It was a big draw for corporations wanting to come there and attract a new young talent. It was like a whole new chapter getting written. But it's like I don't know where it goes from here. Anyways, if you got some thoughts or some comments about Chicago, drop it below. I'd be curious to see what you have to say. Until then, I'm going to catch you on the next one.